If you've been paying attention in the last couple of weeks, you know of the FTX debacle. FTX, for some context, was one of the biggest crypto exchanges out there, run by a fellow named Sam Bankman-Fried, and it spectacularly collapsed, went bankrupt, and people lost all their money. So in the congressional hearings that recently happened, turns out what we're starting to realize is they had no accounting controls. This was famously said.
This one is unusual, and it's unusual in the sense that literally, there's no record keeping whatsoever. It's in the absence of record keeping. Employees would communicate, invoicing and expenses on Slack, which is, essentially a way of communicating for chat rooms. They use QuickBooks, a multi-billion-dollar company using QuickBooks.
QuickBooks?
QuickBooks. Nothing against QuickBooks. It's a very nice tool, just not for a multi-billion-dollar company.
So here you see testimony that basically broke down that SBF and FTX was using QuickBooks. And the response was QuickBooks in a questioning tone, which was interesting. That led a lot of crypto founders and a lot of NFT and Web3 founders to start questioning, number one, do they have good accounting processes in place? And number two, what softwares are they using? So what I'm going to share with you today is a couple of software tools, what I would have done differently if I was SBF at FTX with regards to accounting. And then if you are a crypto or an NFT founder, what software, what tools would you use for your accounting process? So as we dig a little bit deeper into what happened with FTX, this is just from the research from the spectacular collapse of FTX and its sister company Alameda. Basically what they found out was there's a lack of serious accounting systems or even basic internal controls that contribute to the company's downfall. Now I'm sure there's a lot more, there's embezzlement, all that stuff that happened, but really at the end of the day, they had no accounting process, nor did they have an accounting practice. First of all, some of the red flags were they're a multi-billion-dollar crypto exchange and they had no internal accounting department. They had no accountants at all. Actually, they had outsourced their accounting, which normally is not a red flag, right? But for a multi-billion-dollar company, that is. Large companies have significant complexity, which require accountants. Now, I'll be honest, I've been in the accounting space for 13 years. Us as accountants are basically the blue-collar folks of the white-collar world. We're like the cleanup crew of the white-collar world. We clean up the messes and the financial messes of these big businesses, and they didn't have any of these practices in place. The second thing they did is when they're tracking expenses, through using Slack, which normally isn't a problem because sometimes you could do expense approvals through using Slack, through your accounting manager, but somebody needs to enter that into the system. And for a company that's worth billions of dollars, that was also a red flag. There's no formalized accounting process. And the third thing, that we're going to talk about today is their software. Apparently they use QuickBooks, and what I'm thinking is probably QuickBooks Online. Now, QuickBooks Online is a completely appropriate and a great software for companies that are making between $1 million to $25 million per year, but a multi-billion-dollar company, it was unacceptable. So I'm going to share with you what I would have done differently if I was SBF in terms of the accounting process for FTX. The first thing I would have done was I would have started to build a in-house accounting team. We're starting to kind of realize that this is kind of fraudulently built, this whole FTX platform. But if I was to build a legitimate platform, the first thing I would have done as I would have started bringing in venture money, Series A, Series B, or even Series C money, which is kind of crazy. They went to Series C, raised hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars on this company. One of the first things I would have done is hired a CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, tasked that person, him or her, with building out an accounting team, a team that handles the day-to-day accounting and bookkeeping of the company, somebody that's keeping track of all the digital assets that are inside of the company, and somebody that's keeping track of all the liabilities in the incoming and outcoming. That would have been the very basic. Second thing I would have done if I was SBF would start to be building a custom accounting software. So in terms of software that they use QuickBooks, which is a great accounting platform for most businesses. I say most, not all. Like I said, it's totally appropriate for businesses that are at $1 million to $25 million per year. They have an online version, which I personally love using for my clients because it's so easy to use. The interface is fantastic. And then they have a desktop one, is more of an archaic, old style of things. But at the scale of the transactions that SBF was doing at FTX, that is not a software that could handle that type of volume. You would probably need some sort of custom built product from SAP or Oracle, or maybe some custom integrated solution from NetSuite. Those are the three, well, SAP is part of Oracle. Those are the two like big enterprise level accounting softwares that a lot of hedge funds, a lot of trade platforms use as their accounting solution. And they build it out modularity to add different modules to help make their system more robust. So once you have something like a NetSuite or an Oracle SAP product, you're going to want to integrate it with a tool like Bitwave. Bitwave is a software platform that helps decipher information from the blockchain and turn that data into something that can be pushed into an ERP, which is basically an accounting software. Right now, if you're trying to pull information from the Ethereum network or Solana or anything like that, there's no clean exportable data that can be pushed into a traditional accounting software, into traditional financial tools like QuickBooks or like SAP or like NetSuite. So you'd use a tool like Bitwave to be able to do so. Tools like Bitwave can do a couple things. It can help you calculate your capital gains on the assets that you're holding inside of there. It can help you keep track of the assets that are coming in and coming out. Also help you categorize and reconcile, basically code and track expenses coming in and expenses coming out based on wallet addresses, or what we call counterparties. So it's a really powerful tool that pushes data into a traditional accounting software. So those are the tools that I would have done if I was SBF, and that's what I would have done. Now, many of you out there, you might be a crypto founder or a Web3 or NFT founder, and you're like, shoot, Eric, I want to make sure I have clean books. I want to make sure that I know where I stand financially at all times. What would you build for me as a crypto founder? And just to give you context, I run a full-fledged crypto-based accounting practice. We got 8 employees. We focus very heavily on the Web3 and crypto space. We do everything from your day-to-day accounting to act as your CFO, to even also doing your tax returns and tax strategy, tax compliance related things. And this is mostly for US-based clients. If you were a crypto founder and your revenues are closer to $1 to $25 million per year, a solution that I would choose is I would probably still use QuickBooks Online for your solution, because you don't need that many, fields in your chart of accounts, or basically how things are categorized. It doesn't need to be super complex. The second thing that I would do is determine what chains are you using or building on. If you're an NFT client that's just building on the Ethereum network, I'd probably use a tool called Gilded.finance. Gilded.finance, it serves the same need as Bitwave, simpler to use, faster to integrate, quick to work through, really nice platform, super streamlined, but its power really works if you're using like maybe 1 or 2 blockchains. Let's say Ethereum and Matic or Polygon, for example, right? Now, if you have multiple assets, or you're launching multiple projects, or even doing multiple projects for multiple clients, let's say if you're an agency, a done-for-you agency, you're going to be using a tool like Bitwave. Bitwave, again, is a really powerful crypto reconciliation tool. It's the enterprise software that OpenSea uses to reconcile all their transactions. They give you size and scope of the volume. They work with some of the biggest brands in the world, and it's a great software technology platform. And again, I would integrate it probably with using QuickBooks Online and hire a team like myself to handle all that accounting. So kind of like walk back on these conversations, right? Like, was accounting the main reason SBF and FTX went bankrupt? No, there's a lot of other fundamental reasons: embezzlement and terrible record keeping, terrible documentation, a whole bunch of things, right? But the accounting process is really important because it helps regulators, it helps investors, it helps the company see what's happening in the company on a historical basis, and also help you build out for your future projections. So anyway, my name is Eric. They call me the CashFlow Doctor. Thanks for popping on in. If this was interesting to you or valuable to you, or if you are a crypto or NFT based founder, would love to hear from you. Drop your question if you have any in the comments. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and we'll chat again very soon. Take care.